want you to stand up. We don't have as many because I know obviously the travel and the time that we're doing it was not ideal. But I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm a lot like Coach Taylor. I coach year round and I really don't have a break, and we wanted to honor him before we got out of school. These men, and now like what we're doing now with our women, are examples of what the sport of wrestling does for you and the amount of time that Coach, we called him Mean Gene because he was a scary guy. Okay? But these guys, he meant a lot to them too, and he was a second father to me. And I know in my brief speech, I promise it's going to be brief, I'm not going to ramble, that I'll be able to touch on some of those things. But I appreciate you guys being here, and I appreciate you sharing the brotherhood that I'm able to share in. Coach Hartzog, Coach Brown, Coach Lamey, Coach Lathers, and all them, because we are the men we are today. We're the fathers and we're the husbands because of the influence that he played in our life. So I appreciate all of you guys. So briefly, I want to take this time and thank everyone for coming today. Celebrate the naming of the road. It's more than just us naming this road after him. He's a legend. You know, people toss around, this is not in my notes, I'm gonna scramble a little bit. People toss around the term GOAT. Look, Coach Taylor was the GOAT, okay? He's the reason wrestling is what it is today, okay? When I wrestled, and I was average at best, I was on really good teams, had a great coach, we had great volunteers, we had great parents. You just wanted to be a part of it. And he reeled you in. And he was the GOAT. We had at the time Weaver, Welburn, Sachs, and Oxford. Is that right? Now we have Piedmont, Ohatchee, Alexandria, White Plains, and I'm missing one, I think. Pleasant Valley. And then Anniston had a team last year, and due to, I think, lack of, maybe some support and maybe not having a sponsor, they had a team last year as well. So you went from having 4 to 10 teams in just a short amount of time. The sport took off. It's taken off even more now because girls are doing it, and it's great. We have girls in our program, and they're awesome. I remember Wes Brooks, who coaches baseball at Welburn. He told me a long time ago when I started coaching and teaching, he said, you coach them just the same as you do guys. The only thing you do differently, you don't slap them on the butt. That's great advice, other than like, if it's mine, I'm going to do that just because she's mine, but I'd be careful doing that because the audience. But Coach Taylor was a great coach. He's a better man. He won 9 state championships. I don't know if I'm ever going to ever match that. We won 2, and it's not me. It's the kids, it's the parents, it's the support staff, it's my great principal, Mr. Brazier, who allows us. It's been a long time coming, by the way. All right, that guy is the definition of grit and hard work, putting his head down and working. And I'm blessed to be employed by you and working for you. The only thing I want to say is I wrestled 4 years for him. I witnessed his greatness as a coach and even more as a man. He's the face of wrestling in our area and the entire state. I don't want to focus on all of his accolades. There's a ton of them. I'm just going to talk briefly about the man he was to me and several others. He spent his time and energy trying to build us up into strong men with high character. He was more concerned with us being good fathers and good husbands than being state champions. Now look, if we were state champions, that was a bonus. But he wanted us to be good fathers and good husbands. That was his goal for us. And he poured into us every single moment of our life. I know he poured into mine. He always modeled being a family man before anything. He always had his kids, Jake and Misty. They were always, I say courtside, but they were always in the corner. They were always in the wrestling room. They were always running around. And when they were little, they probably were running around with like snotty noses. As they got older, it wasn't like that. And I was able to coach Jake. And he come through the program, and I got to witness and be in a corner when he won his state championship over a guy that had beaten him all through his career. I got to witness that. And I got to see a different side of Coach Taylor. I got to see an emotional, compassionate man enjoy the moment of his son chasing this dream of being an individual state champion and get to be a dad and like letting somebody else, which is not easy, letting somebody else coach them and just being a dad and enjoying the moment. And I got to be that, and that was special to me. He spent a lot of time in the wrestling room at practice. He'd say random things. Like, I remember him saying, I don't need you to be a drugstore cowboy or Joe the rag man. I remember those things. They stuck with you. Baseball practice, you tuck your shirt in, you had a hat on. Those things, it's just little things that just stuck with me. He did an amazing job, I thought, balancing being a coach and also making time for his kids. They were number one to him. He told us the story. I know every group that came in 7th grade in world geography and Alabama history, he told the story of when he adopted his kids and went to Romania. And I mean, like, it's just, those things stick with you. Just how he talked about it. He was just passionate. It's the way I feel about my kids. And I was lucky enough, Coach Brown and I were lucky enough, we had both, he had one of his kids and I had both my kids in the wrestling room this year, and it was really special to me. And I can't imagine it's probably the same feeling for him. They were number one to him. He was passionate about everything, expected your best. He was always, he was kind of rough and rugged a little bit, but he was one of the most compassionate men that I've ever come across. And I've already told you, and I'll probably say it again, he was a second father to me. And I was raised, mom and dad, I guess what you consider a normal childhood, but he was a second father because I had him in football, had him in wrestling, had him in baseball. So if I didn't like him, I stuck with him year round. But he was compassionate in everything he did, a lot of attention to detail. Even as he got older, he didn't overlook the small little details. He always made time for you, and I always remember him saying that and he always said this around the holidays, all right? Frank and Harley and Joe and Coach Brown, they can all vouch for this. I remember him saying, if you guys get in a situation where you make a decision that is not the best, you call me, I will come get you. I won't say anything to your parents then. I won't judge you. There will be no questions asked. But if you need anything, you always call me and I'll come get you. I remember that. And we preach that. I know they do as well. We do that with our kids today. But when you think like rough and rugged and then he says things like that, he had a heart for kids. That's why he did it for so long. And there was a ton of pressure when I took the program over after he left because like all the championships, and we just now recently got back to that, and we hope we continue to build. And I think it was self-added pressure because we wanted to please him. I've got kids that are graduating in my program that I wrestled with, Leo Ushery. His son went through the program 6 years. They see what we're doing, and I feel like Coach Taylor is looking over us right now, and he knows that we're doing things the right way, and it's the Weaver way. He wanted us to be successful after school because he knew that wrestling was an outlet to turn boys into men, and for our young ladies, girls into young ladies, and young women. And this would help us move into our adult lives. He was a second father, loved him to death. I was fortunate enough to play year-round for him. He impacted me more than I can explain today. And if he was here today, I would give him a big old hug. I'd give him a Diet Mountain Dew and a pack of peanut butter crackers, because that was his go-to. And I would tell him how much I appreciate him and how much he means to me and my family. He taught me that wrestling is more than a sport, it's a family. And a family is always there for you, okay? His legacy lives in all of us. The sport of wrestling is better because of Coach Taylor. And the last thing I'm going to leave it with, sorry, I'm the man today because of the influence he had in my life. I'm the husband, the father, the coach, the teacher that I am because Coach Taylor poured into me. I remember one time, short story I promise, wrestling at ASB. And I'm wrestling a guy named Damian Cole. He drilled me. He embarrassed me. I remember spiking my headgear. Leo remembers this. I remember spiking my headgear. I remember him grabbing me. No, not like physically jerking a knot at me. I remember him grabbing me and lovingly putting me in a headlock and saying, don't ever do that again. You are, and this is what we preach to our kids. And I know Frank, and I know Harley, and I know Joe do this as well. We preach to our kids that you are an example, like, of what's expected. They're carrying on our name. The Weaver, for me, it's the Weaver name. My wife, my kids, the school, the principal, they're carrying this with them. And I remember him saying, I love you, don't ever do that again. And I remember from that point on, if I even thought about it, that voice was in my head. And he never even had to say anything ever to me again, because he knew it just took that one time of me showing my tail and making it bigger than just a match. It was a match. Me like acting like it's the end of the world. In that one moment, he grabbed me, put me in a loving headlock. He didn't embarrass me, he didn't belittle me. He showed compassion and told me, don't ever do that again, because you are a reflection of me and my family. And I'm grateful and I'm extremely blessed to be a part of the Bearcat Wrestling family. Thank you. At this time, we're going to have Coach Harlan Lamey from Hoover High School to come up.